Okay, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. So I will make this presentation in two parts. The first part will be about my last book, which is Performing Arts and Digital Humanities, in order to explore how the digital traces of performing arts are really reshaping the way we are studying performing arts. So I will start with a general consideration, and then I will move to my ongoing project, which is an ERC project on the digital traces of performing arts. So I would like to start maybe with one of the most important theatre manifestation, which is the Festival d'Avignon, founded in 1947 by Jean Villard, and which is one of the most significant performing arts events worldwide. So every summer in Avignon, in the south of France, you have many artists and people gathering from around the world to attend performances. And since its creation, over 2,000 performances have been staged and featuring artists like Ariane Mouchkine, Peter Brook, Bob Wilson, Patrice Chéreau, Pina Bausch, Romeo Castellucci, and so on. So beyond being a stage for contemporary theatre, Avignon has also reflected major artistic shifts, served as a post-dramatic theatre. And if you look at the festival website, there is also an archive section which holds numerous documents from past editions in order to preserve its rich history. And today I will work with one of the performance of the Avignon Festival, which is rewarded by Jean-François Perret. So in this website, this website illustrates how performing arts are entering the digital age, both by digitizing analog traces and also by preserving both digital records from nearly 20 years. In this direction, a key example is the work of Christophe Reynaud-Delage, the festival official photographer since 2005. And Christophe Reynaud-Delage is capturing performances using a digital camera. So, of course, you have the creation of born digital traces, but you have also the works themselves, which are also becoming digital. For instance, performances like Rewalden by Jean-François Perret leave behind digital footprints rather than traditional analog records. So, for example, here, these digital traces include, for example, the score of the performance, so the text, which is based on the performance, but you may also encounter a lot of photographs, video recordings, and also playbills, not to mention web archive. So this is the website of the company of Jean-François Perret. And so all the documents that you have just seen are a selection from 20,000 digital traces of a single creative process. So this shift challenges us to rethink how we archive, experience, and analyze live performances in the digital era. If we want to preserve the memory of the performing arts, we cannot ignore these digital traces. They are what remains of the works. So the history of contemporary and future performing arts will be written from digital traces. These digital traces, we can distinguish two main types. So we have digitized archives, for example, scanned playbills, scanned photographs, and so on. But as I already mentioned, we have born digital records with, for example, emails, online videos, metadata, and so on. The characteristic of these digital traces is that they are fragile, Because of digital obsolescence, they are heterogeneous. We have many different kinds of files, for example, text, images, but also, for example, elements of documents such as max MSP files and so on. And they are numerous. I already said that for one performance, we may have more than 20,000 documents so as traces of this performance. So if we do not actively preserve these traces, we do risk to lose essential sources of performing arts history. So in response to this challenge, the CIMMAS, which is the International Association for Performing Arts Documentation, launched a working group in 2019. And this group is led by Anna Lavets from the Royal Danish Library, and it aims to tackle the specific issues of born digital heritage in these collections. So we do have a paradigm shift in performing arts research, which is what the historian Roy Rosenberg wound up of a shift from a culture of scarcity to a culture of abundance. A culture of scarcity to a culture of abundance. So there are not big data in the traditional sense, but rather complex datasets requiring new methods of analysis. So the challenge is, how do we organize and analyze this vast amount of data? And how do we identify patterns without losing contextual meaning? And I will go back to these challenges later on in the ERC project. But before, I would like maybe to frame very briefly some very early research in performing arts and digital humanities. So this began in the 60s. So even in the 60s, theater scholars began using computers for analysis, inspired by Father Beuza's computational linguistics. And you may find all these very early steps in the journal Computers and the Humanities from 66 until 2004. And two key trends emerge if you consult this journal. The first one is lexicometry and stylometry for authorship attribution, for example. And one of the recent avatars of such an approach is the study by Cafiero and Camps to confirm that Molière is indeed the author of his major works. The second trend is the creation of databases for theatre history. For example, the London Stage Database, which is often considered as the first digital humanities project in theatre studies. And but maybe we have forgot this example by Solomon Marcus, who proposed a binary matrix model to map character interactions. So here, columns represent the scenes, rows represent the characters, and you have one if a character is present in a scene, and 0 indicates the absence. So this method allows for quantitative analysis of character co-presence and play structure. And today, researchers like Marc Douguet build on these foundations. Marcus' work led to early graph theory applications in theatre studies, and these concepts were later expanded by Franco Moretti, who applied network analysis to visualize character interactions as complex networks, for example, here with Hamlet. So it's a very brief panorama of these very first experiments, and I will move to recent initiatives. So the very first events and publications are resumed in this slide, but the starting point to me was in 2013 with Doug Resite at the New York Public Library. So Doug Resite called for a TH revolution in performing arts studies, similar to Franco Moretti's distant reading in literature. And so the goal is not to draw an exhaustive panorama, but to highlight some projects in order to have a glimpse at the diversity of the research questions. And so just maybe to mention two important publications. The first one in 2016, Theatre Journal, who dedicates an issue on the age, and in 2017, a special issue in French. So a few months later, with the Revue d'historiographie du théâtre. So among many examples, Derek Miller's Visualizing Broadway uses the Internet Broadway database to analyze over a century of productions, so not just the hits, but also the failures. And his research reveals that the most central figures in theater production aren't just famous directors and actors, but often overlooked professionals like set designers and stage managers. So by mapping industry networks, he uncovers collaboration patterns and career trajectories. He also tracks evolving themes in Broadway productions through published reviews calling for a broader and data-driven approach to theater history. Another example, which is well known, is Deborah Kaplan's studies of the Vilna Troupe, an experimental Yiddish theater company active from 1915 to 1936, and bridging together 219 artists. So Deborah Kaplan in this project using archival data in order to visualize the troupe's network, tracking professional, familial, educational, and personal connections. So the key questions here are, was the troupe a family affair? How did these networks impact women's careers? Who were the most influential figures? What were the troupe's ties to major theater, cinema, and literary figures? And another important project, the Comédie Française Registers project, which began in 2008. This project recorded, so it starts from the registers of the Comédie Française in the 17th century and the 18th century. And so these registers recorded daily receipts and expenses. So this allows researchers to visualize trends over the seasons, such as the income generated by Molière plays, the success of the different genres, or earnings comparison between authors. And so these insights help refine our understanding of an author's historical reception. And one example is Théaville by Françoise Rubelin, which is a research platform dedicated to dramatic parodies of opera in the 18th century, and particularly those performed at the Théâtre de Foire and the Comédie Italienne. So here you have a database of melodies used in these performances, and so you can explore vaudeville and their musical sources, and performance venues, their historical context, and so on. But these examples highlight two key approaches, curation and computation. So to further illustrate these two main approaches, I will focus on a crucial resource in performing arts research, still and video images. So the first approach to digital traces focuses on presenting the sources. So in order to editorialize the records, to annotate them, and to offer a critical perspective, in order to connect, to structure, and to reconstruct the information. In this aspect, this is one of my first experiment in this field. So in order to document video recordings and to make them more explicit and to enhance the transmission of performances, I built Memoricall. So the main goal of Memoricall is to start from the video recording of the performances, which is considered as one of the most important documents for contemporary performances, and to link this video recording to different documents. For example, here this is the notes from one of the director, but you may also have some technical documentations. For example, maybe the set design and many kind of documents that you can attach to the video recording in order to make it explicit. So Memoricall is a free and open source web application that you can add very easily. But today I would like to move with DARIAH, which is a standard which is more and more used by an increasing number of libraries and archives worldwide, and including those specializing in performing arts collections. I guess that many of you are already familiar with DARIAH, but I would like to introduce some of the key opportunities that DARIAH offers for performing arts research and dissemination. So one of the things that you can do with DARIAH is, for example, using the Mirror viewer. It's to be able to compare images from different collections. So here you have two images of actors interpreting Hamlet, on the left from the Getty collection and on the right from the BNF, the National Library in France collection. And so if we continue with the National Library in France, it's also possible, thanks to DARIAH, to annotate these images. And so you can easily imagine how DARIAH tools can be used to create engaging online learning experiences. And this is the case of the Folgert Shakespeare Library, because then you can have interactive presentations moving from one page to another page of the Shakespeare collections, and with the commentary of different experts in order to present these editions of Shakespeare. But you may also imagine new ways of presenting visual material in online publications. So this is not exactly from, they are not costume for performing arts, but from Balenciaga. And then it's possible, but you could transpose this to performing arts costumes in order to compare different views of these costumes. And also to create annotated presentation of 3D models. And so this is a project by our colleagues in Cologne, who designed the compact interface in order to be able to annotate 3D models with DARIAH also. But so this is for the first approach. The second approach aims to extract data from sources and to analyze them using computational methods. There are few examples applied to theater and image corpora, but I will present 3 projects that show how promising this work is. So the first work is from Motion Bank, which is a project that Scott Laonta conducted in the context of broader projects by the choreographer William Forsythe. And so here, for the DARIAH-EU No Time to Fly documentation, you have the analysis of a movement character generated from video recordings in order to compare the different interpretation of the same score of a performance by DARIAH-EU. And This is a very, very different example from Peter Broadwell and Tim Tangalini. So this project explores the dance vocabulary of K-pop dances. And in this work, they develop a series of methods to identify dance sequences in K-pop videos. Whether they are dance videos, develop a series of classifiers for mining a very large-scale video corpus, and to apply deep learning methods to identify dancers and their body positions. So the goal of this research is to begin to establish the vocabulary of K-pop dances and to begin to map out cross-cultural choreographic flows. And today, Peter Broadwell, in collaboration with the director Michael Ray, continues his research using machine learning and computer vision to study directorial styles. And my last example is the Living Archive project led by Wayne McGregor in collaboration with Google. So they applied machine learning to analyze and compare video recordings from the choreographer's extensive archive. And by extracting and clustering visual features automatically, the system identifies patterns and similarities across the entire corpus. And then it's possible for the people who connect on the website to build their own choreography from this archives analysis. So in the second part of my presentation, I would like to introduce the initial steps of this ERC project that began 1 year ago, and which is focused on the digital traces of the performing arts with one central research question. So what changes do digital traces bring to the study of performing arts from a hermeneutic and epistemological perspective? So today I only be able to share some very first steps of the very first things that we have did during this first year of the project. And I will focus my presentation on the programs and Harvest, which is a multimodal environment which we will use for creation process analysis. Because STAGE has three interconnected objectives. The first one is to use data from the programs to visualize a graph showing the interactions of people and creation context. So for example, how the network of one director is evolving over time. The second objective is to reveal visual influences and quotations from thousands of photographs and video analysis. So how can we track the influence, for example, of Bob Wilson or Merce Cunningham from one performance to another one? And the third objective is to model creative processes taking into account not only the rehearsals, but also all the data produced by all the team members. Because usually if you study the creative process of one performance, what we do in performing arts studies, it's that we have the tendency to use only the rehearsals, but we do know that this is not the whole creative process. So what I would like to be able to do in this respect is, for example, to be able to answer this kind of question. So how an idea is emerging and developing, for example, from the light design to the text. So to attempt to address these questions, I've decided to base my research on a corpus that hasn't been studied from the perspective of the works presented. So I decided to work with the Festival d'Avignon and with all the performances of the Festival d'Avignon from 1947 until now, which means around 2,000 performances. So today again, I will only be able to share some initial result. So I will focus on the first and the third objective of this project. So one of the aims of the project is to extract data from the programs of the Avignon Festival in order to highlight the interactions between thousands of individuals, the different forms of artistic and technical collaborations, and the evolution of creative context over time. And to do this, we have a formidable source, underestimated in the context of theater history, which are the programs. So here you can see the general program for the first edition in 1947, and on the right, the program from one of the performances in the last edition, last year, which is a performance directed by Séverine Chavrier. So as you can imagine, between the two, there have been numerous variations, especially graphic ones, particularly with each new festival direction. So one of the stage project's objectives is the extraction of data from the festival theater programs and to highlight the interactions among thousands of individuals. So this is a fairly classical approach, but what is less conventional, however, is the decision to go back to the source. So in brief, it means two important things. The first one is to keep the literal transcription of the documents. This is fundamental, for example, to study the evolution of theater professions over time. And the second important thing is to develop an ontology for performing arts in order to transform the content of the programs into linked open data. Then it will be possible to scale up our analysis, moving from individual case studies to broader trends, patterns, and networks in the performing arts. And this not only enhances our ability to trace artistic collaborations and the evolution of creative practices, but also offers new insights into the dynamics of theater production on a European scale. So, at first glance, theater programs might seem easy to structure because you have a list of titles, directors, actors, venues. But real-world data is far more complex and heterogeneous. So, for example, concepts like director or choreographer could vary historically, making standardization difficult. And moreover, performances are multi-layered artistic events. They evolve over time, they generate recordings, inspire adaptations, and they involve a network of contributors beyond just the on-stage talent. So many database models exist, for example, FRBR, CDOC-CRM, linked stagecraft, and so on, but they are typically designed for specific datasets, making interoperability difficult. So our project addresses this by working towards a flexible but unified approach, bridging existing models while maintaining semantic richness. So to tackle fragmentation and interoperability issues, we are adopting linked art, which is a CDOC-CRM-based ontology that structures cultural data in a machine-readable format. So this is originally designed for visual arts, but it provides a flexible and event-driven framework that aligns with semantic web standards. However, linked art lacks features for performing arts, and so right now we are addressing these gaps, ensuring compatibility with existing data models while maintaining scalability and usability for cultural institutions. So our approach builds on the linked art ontology, but then to add some features in order to capture the nuances of performing arts and balancing data standardization with historical complexity. So the first version of linked art has been released last month. And it's already used by major institutions like the Yale collections, the Getty's Museum and Research Collections, the Rich Museum, the University of Leeds, and so on. So this is the main architecture that we are proposing to linked art. So we decided to structure a performance into 3 hierarchical levels. The first one is the concept of the work, so the abstract idea of the play. The B is the production of the work. So this level, for example, encompasses all performances within a specific production, so such as theatre company's version of a play. So, for example, all the performances at the Avignon Festival, or all the performances at the Odeon Theatre, and so on. And the C is the performance. So it's the most granular level, representing a single performance on a given day, including elements unique to that performance. For example, if there is a cast change or a technical adjustment, then we can put this information in the C. So this is the overview of the general architecture of the ontology that we are proposing. And so this is an overview of the B, so the main part of the ontology. So this is a hierarchical event-based model. I won't go into details here. We are in the process of discussing with the linked art group. And so we are, well, if you want to be part of this discussion and so on, just maybe during the Q&A, we can have more discussion about all this structure of the ontology. I will move to Harvest because I like what I already mentioned, the computational analysis of the creative process behind performances, particularly its collaborative dimension, poses a major challenge for theatre studies. So if you remember my example about Jean-François Perret, one of the main difficulties is that our sources are multimodal. And when it comes to studying multimodal documents, we face many challenges. One of these challenges is the silo approach, because we have tools working with only one file. For example, only with text, only with images, and so on. This is moving right now, but the usual practice in digital humanities involve separating documents by file type and working with this silo approach. Another challenge is to enable manual and automatic annotations, including on complex documents such as video. But we would like also to be able to navigate between close reading and distant reading, and with avoiding loss of the context by linking data extraction and the original trace, so not to lose the context of the data. And one of the other challenges of these multimodal documents and these very important data sets, it's to be able to introduce narrative into visualizations in order, in particular, to reconcile temporal and spatial representations. So all these reflections conducted to this tool, Harvest, and which follows memorical in some aspects, but which is also taking into account all the reflection and the challenges that I've just mentioned. So we imagine Harvest as a virtual desktop that will allow the user to do a multitude of things with collections of digital documents. So basically it's a desktop, but the user can place a collection of documents on their desk, but not just text. It's also possible to manipulate images, videos, audios, 3D objects. And a very simple yet very powerful operation we can do with these documents is to arrange them differently on the desktop, to move them in the space, and to compare them in this place. And like at a real desk, we can grab a highlighter and start annotating the documents, drawing attention to certain aspects. And we can also create links between the different documents. We can group them together according to different characteristics. And then we can pick up our scissors and glue and start chopping documents up, sticking them together, composing new documents made up of regions of old ones. And when doing this, it's important not to forget where these fragments came from, to keep them in context and not lose the link to the original source. But maybe you would like to grab also your calculator or perhaps a neural network and start performing operations like classifications, statistical calculations, and creating different visualizations of the data content within these documents. So now on our desk, we can quickly jump from a close reading to a distant reading approach, where we model and graph a whole collection. So next, we can let another researcher see our desk and allow them to completely reconfigure the collection in a way that answers the specific research questions. So we can configure the collection across different dimensions, be it spatial by placing documents in different corners of the desk, or temporal by stacking things up in different orders. So finally, we can take our configuration, our friend's configuration, and change them together, giving them an order that narrates a story. So we believe that this is not only important for things like publishing, but it is also a useful tool for the researchers that allows them to keep a track of the operations and transformations they may have performed. And so to do all these operations, I move back to Triple Life, that we do think that this is a perfect framework to support this kind of approach. And specifically because there is a recent inclusion of audiovisual and time-based media in the presentation API. And so we based our vest on Triple Life. So if we go back to Rewalden and see what Harvest can do with Rewalden. So I will show you a very short demo of Harvest. So the first step is that we can play with multimodal documents. So you have you can add as many documents as you want. These documents could be photographs, they could be also videos, and they could be text. So this is the score of the performance. You can also have audio recordings. And for all of these documents, you may add some annotations and even annotations for video recordings. So you can enter text, you can have some tags, and you can also say that this annotation is only for this portion of the video recording. And so you can have some time information of the annotation. And it's possible also to have some graphic annotations on the video recordings and some more specific annotations in the JSON file. But it's also possible from these documents, and this is another example, it's not from Rewalden, it's from another project that we did. So you can have a manifest of manifest. So you can present all your corpora in a network and to annotate this network with all the documents of your corpora. So this way you can move from the distant viewing to the close reading approach. And so Jacob Hart, who is conducting the development, also developed an API, so to have advanced tools, and so we use collab documents in order to play with this API. So for example here, to provide different visualization of your corpora. So this is another example from another dataset, which is Plausivet datasets. So here you have a corpora of images, and with the API it's possible to have a cluster of these images, and again to move from distant viewing to close reading within the same interface. So this is the general framework of Harvest with API, the media and manifest storage, which is made thanks to Humanum, and also we are providing a PeerTube instance. So if you want to have your videos on PeerTube and then to link these PeerTube videos and to make manifest with it and to import it into Harvest, it's also very easy to do. So you don't have to install IIIF server, it's already made for you. And so what we would like to do with Harvest, it's really to first to have people who doesn't know what is IIIF and what is a manifest and so on, but they can play with Harvest without having all this knowledge, and at the same time having very advanced uses of Harvest. So we will release the application at the end of the month. We are just doing the very last corrections and debugs, but we are confident that you can play with it within a few days or weeks. So you will find also all information about the state project in this website. This is a team effort, and I really have to thank my collaborators. So Jacob Hart, Jeanne Frasse, Nicolas Foucault, Alexandra Beraldin, Antonio Lagarias, Manon Olivar, Cécile Lachambre, and two researchers, Bernard Jacquemin, so who helped us a lot for the ontologies, and Aurélie Lemaître for all the aspects of computer vision and the document analysis. So many thanks for your attention.